On my channel, you guys know that I want everyone to make more money and get wealthy. And in order to do that, we also have to understand what not to do. I'm going to explain this as if you were a client walking into my office seeking professional advice on your financial situation. But here are the 7 money habits that are preventing you from getting wealthy, aka keeping you broke. The first thing is having the "what can I buy today" mentality. Broke people, and I say this very casually, they plan what they're going to spend their money on as soon as they get their money. Have you guys ever heard of the saying that lottery winners go broke after 1 or 2 years because they don't have the financial skills or the financial literacy to manage and grow that money? Or maybe you've heard of professional athletes that make a lot of money in a very short amount of time, but then they go broke after a few years because they never learned how to manage that money and they never had the financial skills or the discipline to know what to do with that money. So changing from a consumption mindset to a saving and investing mindset starts with setting some financial goals for yourself, setting a savings goal, setting a net income goal, setting a net worth goal, and keeping these things on the top of your mind rather than setting spending goals for yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have a little fun money here and there. We all want to buy some things that make us feel good, some clothes that make us feel fresh, some makeup that makes us feel pretty, right? This is completely normal, but shifting from that "what can I buy today" mentality still ends up in consumption mode. Whereas if you shift to what I can invest and what I can save and make that your priority, then it can change your decision making when it comes to spending. The second thing that could be keeping a person broke is if they live a lifestyle beyond their means. The tricky part about this is that it can creep up on us without us really realizing. So if you live beyond what you make, that can actually end up becoming a lifestyle habit. And habits are very hard to break, especially financial habits. And beyond a certain point, living above your means has nothing to do with income. Just like how a business can make millions of dollars, a business can make millions of dollars in top line, but they're still in the red, meaning that they're not profitable. And it could be because they're still very early on in the years of the business and they're just not profitable yet, but it could also be because of overspending and because their fixed costs are just too high. The same concept applies for individuals because no matter how much you make, there is always going to be an opportunity out there for you to live beyond your means. So if a person struggles to live within their means on a $4,000 a month budget, that person may also struggle if it's $10,000 a month. That person may also struggle if it's $20,000 a month. A lot of people think that more money will solve your problems, but it depends. It depends on your spending eyeballs and how you manage that money. Because if your spending eyeballs recalibrate to match that income, otherwise known as lifestyle creep, then it doesn't really matter how much money you make because you're always going to be lifestyle creeping and your eyeballs are always going to be recalibrating to meet your new level of income. If a person makes $8,000 a month and they have a crazy lifestyle and they spend it all, even if you gave that person an extra $100,000 a month and now they're making $108,000 a month, if they had a hard time controlling themselves at 10K, they're going to have a hard time controlling themselves at 108K because it's habits and thought patterns that follow with the person. Training yourself to learn how to keep a healthy gap between what you make and what you spend is really important, and see if you can increase that gap by focusing on earning more every year. Say you're making $3,000 and you're able to live off of 50% of that. In a year where your income goes up and now you make $5,000 or $6,000, can you train yourself to only live off of 30%? Can you train yourself to only live off of 10%? The idea is that your income goes up as you do better financially over time, and your portion of spend, the percentage of how much you spend, goes down. That is when you end up doing better financially and making more money at the same time. The third thing that can cause people to go broke is when they spend on big ticket items that don't increase in value or generate you an income or help you generate an income. So these are things like expensive vacations, fancy furniture, brand new Apple products every year, excessive amounts of luxury bags, clothes, and shoes. There's a time and place for nice things, and it's perfectly fine to treat yourself once in a while. I like these things too as an individual, as just me, myself. But as an accountant, and in my opinion, a pretty good accountant, I would cut everything. I don't know, as your accountant, I would just recommend you cut all the stuff that you don't actually need out of your life. A wise man once said that poor people have big TVs and rich people have big libraries. I don't remember where I heard that quote from. But the idea is that when you make bigger purchases, are these bigger purchases going to help you with your earning potential? Are they going to increase in value? Are they going to generate an income? Or is it, to my initial point, spending for the sake of spending? Next is bad debt. There's actually no definition to what bad debt is. As an accountant, we were not taught in the accounting handbook, what bad debt is. So bad debt is somewhat subjective. It's somewhat subjective, so that's why you hear a lot of information about what's considered good debt and bad debt. So I just want to clarify, but in my opinion, debt is considered bad if you're not using it to help you make money. So for example, credit card debt, consumer debt is generally considered to be bad debt if you carry a balance and pay a high interest on it. Is student loans considered bad debt? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, because I know in the States, student loans and college is very, very expensive, and people go into tremendous amounts of debt when they go to college in the States. So this one's hard for me to comment on because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The thing with debt is that it also depends on your goals in life as well. So it's very hard to really concretely say what is good debt and what is bad debt. And what I perceive to be bad debt could, eventually end up being a good decision for somebody. If I had to pinpoint it onto one thing, I would say consumer debt or credit card debt is generally considered bad debt. And that ties back into the initial point that I made in point number 1, which is the consumption mindset. And any debt, I think, tied back into the consumption mindset could be considered bad debt. The next thing that could be keeping a person broke is having one single source of income, which is usually employment income. Now, everyone in life starts off with one source of income, okay? Everyone. Unless you're generationally wealthy, but I'm not talking about that scenario. Everyone starts off with a job in life. So this is definitely more a long-term thing. Here's the thing. If you have a single source of employment income from the age of 18 to the age of 65, even if you're extremely frugal, even if you save almost everything you make, there's still going to be a limit to how much you can make. And I don't think anybody wants to wait until 65 to be like a millionaire and to enjoy life at the age of 65. So yeah, nobody wakes up at the age of 18 as an adult and has 5 sources of income, but the goal in personal finance, watching these types of videos and wanting to be better financially is to, over time, increase your sources of income. And over time, have some different ways of earning income, both passively and actively. Employment income is fine as one source of income, but remember that in an employment capacity, you do have limited control on your ability to earn more. So you don't have any leverage, and your ability to make more is also dependent on whether someone gives you more money. And so just the nature of that, if that's your only plan from the age of 18 to 65, that in itself is not going to lead to long-term wealth. If you spend the whole rest of your life with a single source of employment income, trading your time for money with the 16 hours you have in a day, there's only so much that's going to happen. And this is not, an emotional statement or like a very opinionated statement. It's just math. It's literally just math. This one is not easy at all to figure out, right? It takes a lot of time to build out sources of income. That's why I say this one is more of a longer term horizon. But even just setting the intention of learning more to be better, to make more than one source of income over time, just the intention, that's where it begins. Next thing that could be keeping you broke is not having a budgeting or some sort of system in place to manage your cash inflows. So as somebody who used to spend a lot of time in corporate spreadsheets, managing corporate budgets, looking at financial statements of businesses and numbers all day long, I personally don't think that personal finance needs to be very complex. In fact, I don't really do much spreadsheet budgeting of my own personal finances. I don't think we need pie charts and 8 different accounts and like 4 different spending apps. Like I really, my opinion, this is just what I do, is I like to keep it very simple. And I think, keeping it simple and efficient is much more important than, making it like a full-time job to manage your own personal finances. So having some sort of efficient system that allows you to save and invest your cash flows, invest back in yourself to pay off your debts, whatever it may be for you, wherever you are financially, a system that allows you to reach your financial goals. I think that's the goal. I personally don't really like to micromanage or over budget when it comes to personal finance. And that's just a personal preference. I think that if budgets help a person, then it could be good. Maybe because of me and my financial background, I can do a lot of personal finance stuff kind of in my head. If I was advising a client on this, I would say just keep something really simple that you can actually stick to and just having some sort of system. So as soon as you get paid, transferring X amount to a certain account, or as soon as you get paid, paying off your credit card right away, doing some backwards calculations to see how much you need to save every month to hit a certain savings goal, doing some calculations to see how much more you need to make next year or the year after that to hit your income goal. Just having these little goals and habits when it comes to personal finance, I think is very powerful in itself. I'm personally not a huge spreadsheet, budgeting, pie chart, 4 different sort of apps type of person, 8 different accounts when it comes to personal finance. I think businesses need that. Businesses definitely need a very, very, very tight and keen eye when it comes to managing spend. But at the personal level, if it's just, one source of income or 2 sources of income, I think it's better to just keep it simple and keep it to something you can actually stick to rather than overcomplicating it, and turning it into like a full-time job just to manage your own personal finance situation. That's just mine. And the last thing that could be keeping someone broke is just not having good financial goals in mind. When you don't set financial goals for yourself and stretchy targets, or you don't have something to work towards, that can be hard. So having a net income goal, having a net worth goal, having a savings goal, short-term and long-term, just having some things that you want to work on, which allows you to then think more hard about how you manage and plan your day, your time, your priorities, how you make decisions about spending money, how you make decisions about work and career. All of these things kind of subconsciously develop in your head based on your financial goals. So what are your financial goals for this year? What are your financial goals for the next 3 months? If you want to push yourself, can you achieve that 1-year goal in 10 months? Can you achieve that 3-month goal in 2.5 months? So I recommend setting some short-term and long-term goals for yourself, make them stretchy so it's something you actually have to work towards. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. And if you liked this video, you'll definitely like my other video where I talk about money lessons that were not taught in school. Make sure you check out that video up top. Super important to be educated financially, be financially literate so you make good decisions for yourself when it comes to money. Let me know down in the comments below whether you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.